Chosen ones, right now somebody is pacing the floor at 3 in the morning because every single thing they planned against you has fallen apart. They gathered in their little circles, they whispered in their private messages, they calculated every move like chess masters convinced they were playing against a beginner. And tonight, this very night, they are watching everything they built crumble into ash. Because they made one fatal miscalculation, they thought they knew who they were dealing with. They studied your kindness, they measured your patience, they catalogued your compassion, and they concluded you were easy prey. What they didn't know, what they couldn't possibly understand, is that you've died before, multiple times, and that's exactly how your veil got lifted. That's how you became untouchable. That's how you transformed into the very force they should have been terrified of from the beginning. What you're about to discover in this message will explain everything you've sensed but couldn't name. It will confirm every suspicion that kept you awake. It will validate every instinct that told you something was deeply wrong, even when you couldn't prove it. Their conspiracy had military precision. Your protection has divine authority. There's no contest here. Let me take you back to the beginning, long before they ever entered your life, long before they spotted you and decided you needed to be destroyed. There were moments throughout your existence when everything almost ended. Some happened in hospital rooms. Some happened on roads you shouldn't have survived. Some happened in relationships so brutal your soul nearly fractured into pieces that could never reassemble. You remember these moments. They flash through your mind sometimes at random. That instant where time slowed down and something impossible kept you breathing. That situation where mathematics and probability said you should be gone, but here you stand. Those dark nights where giving up seemed logical, reasonable, even attractive, yet something pulled you through to morning. These weren't random accidents of survival. These were initiations. Every single symbolic death throughout your journey served a precise purpose. The universe was teaching you things that cannot be learned from books or lectures or comfortable circumstances. It was forging you in fire because it knew what was coming. It knew the attacks you would face. It knew the conspiracies that would form around you, and it needed you ready. Here's what happens when someone dies and returns. The veil gets lifted. That thin membrane separating ordinary perception from supernatural sight gets torn open, and once it's torn, it never fully closes again. You started seeing things, feeling things, knowing things you had no logical reason to know. When someone walked into a room carrying deception, your stomach twisted before they even opened their mouth. When someone smiled while plotting against you, something in your chest constricted with warning. When lies were being constructed about you in conversations you weren't present for, dreams visited you with fragments of truth. This gift didn't come from studying ancient texts or practicing meditation for decades. It came from bleeding. It came from breaking. It came from those moments where you touched the edge of ending and absorbed something from that contact. Your near-death experiences weren't punishments, they were downloads. They were upgrades to perception systems most humans never activate, because most humans never get close enough to the threshold. You got close, multiple times, and each time you returned, you brought something back with you. Now let's talk about the person at the center of this entire situation. There's someone who looked at everything beautiful about you and felt their blood curdle with hatred. Your light exposed their darkness. Your authenticity highlighted their performance. Your genuine connection to source energy made their manufactured persona look pathetically transparent. And instead of doing the internal work required to elevate themselves, they chose destruction. They convinced themselves that eliminating your presence would somehow fill the void inside them. It never works that way, but people operating from that frequency cannot understand that truth until they experience the consequences personally. This individual didn't work alone. They recruited accomplices with promises and persuasion. They painted pictures of you that were complete fabrications, convincing others that you deserved what was coming. They built a network of collaboration around a single goal, your removal, permanent, complete, final. And they were arrogant enough to believe they could make it happen without cosmic consequence. The root of their obsession traces to a connection you had with someone before they ever entered the picture. You knew this person first. Your bond was established first. And when that person started recognizing your value, started making plans that included you, started envisioning futures with you in them, something in your enemy snapped. They couldn't handle it. Your existence became an unbearable reminder of what they lacked. The genuine connection you represented exposed the artificial nature of everything they offered, and rather than accept this reality and move forward with dignity, they descended into planning that crossed lines most people never approach. We're talking insurance schemes with your life as the payout. We're talking arrangements designed to make your end look accidental. We're talking cold, calculated, premeditated operations that would satisfy legal definitions you don't even want to research. This is what you were dealing with. This is what was moving in the shadows while you went about your daily existence unaware, or so they thought. Here's where your death saved you. Because you had already walked through fire multiple times, you developed discernment that operates below conscious awareness. Your spirit recognized the threat before your mind could analyze it. Strange feelings kept you away from situations that seemed harmless on the surface. Unexplained hesitations prevented you from accepting invitations that would have placed you in vulnerable positions. Sudden changes of plan redirected you from paths where arrangements were waiting. They attributed these near misses to bad luck, to unfortunate timing, to circumstances beyond their control. What they never understood is that you carry protection they cannot pierce. Ancestral guardians they cannot see stand watch over your existence. Grandmothers and great-grandmothers who transitioned before you were born maintain vigilant protection from realms they cannot access. Your bloodline contains survivors, warriors, medicine people who navigated impossible odds for generations specifically so you could exist in this moment. Their combined strength flows through your veins and activates automatically whenever genuine threat approaches. You didn't ask for this protection. You inherited it. You earned it through the trials that would have destroyed anyone without this backing. Let's talk about what you did when you finally recognized the full scope of what was happening. Because your response reveals everything about who you've become through your transformations. You didn't panic. You didn't spiral into anxiety and paranoid speculation. You didn't lower yourself to their frequency by plotting revenge or engaging in toxic confrontation. You made one clean decision. You cut the connection entirely, blocked access to your energy across every available channel. No dramatic explanations, no lengthy conversations designed to create closure they didn't deserve. Just clean surgical removal from a situation that threatened your existence. This response terrified them more than any retaliation could have, because they expected emotion, they expected chaos, they expected behavior they could point to as evidence of your instability. Instead, they got silence, they got absence, they got the realization that they had completely misjudged who they were dealing with. Your peace became your greatest weapon. Your refusal to engage became your ultimate power move. You demonstrated through action that chosen ones don't need to fight every battle. Sometimes the greatest victory comes from simply becoming unreachable. What happened next confirms everything about divine justice operating with mathematical precision. Their carefully constructed plans didn't just fail, they reversed. Every arrangement they made became a trap they fell into themselves. Every lie they told became weight they now carry. Every false promise they used to recruit accomplices became obligation they cannot fulfill. The anxiety they wanted to inflict on you has relocated to their own nervous system. They cannot sleep properly. Food doesn't taste right. Every knock on the door brings a surge of terror that their conspiracy has been discovered. And it has been discovered, not by human investigation necessarily, though that may come, by universal law that maintains perfect records and delivers consequences with precision timing. The accomplice they recruited is experiencing their own devastation. They got close enough to you to taste genuine connection before they chose betrayal. Now they live with the contrast. They know what authentic love feels like because you showed them, and they threw it away for someone who was using them as a tool. That realization doesn't fade. It sharpens daily. They see your face in their dreams and wake up sick with regret they cannot articulate to anyone, because explaining it would require admitting what they participated in. Meanwhile, look at your life. Money flows to you through channels that feel effortless because you're operating in alignment with your purpose. Opportunities appear with timing that seems supernatural because it is supernatural. Doors that were locked swing open when you approach. People you've never met feel compelled to support your mission without fully understanding why. Your healing abilities have intensified, not just for yourself, though your recovery capacity defies medical expectation. For others who enter your presence, they feel better without understanding what happened. Conditions they accepted as permanent suddenly shift. Emotional wounds they carried for decades begin closing. This energy flows through you when you're aligned. It's not something you manufacture through effort. It's something that happens automatically when you step into your divine purpose. Your occupation generates income they cannot comprehend because they're operating from grind and struggle while you're operating from flow and alignment. Your work feels like play because it's connected to something larger than personal profit. And this authentic connection to purpose creates abundance that manipulation and scheming can never replicate, no matter how sophisticated the approach. Here's something about your true nature that they missed entirely when they were cataloging your weaknesses. You understand balance in ways most people never achieve. You can give fully when working with light frequencies. Healing and love and restoration flow through you with purity that transforms everyone in your field. But you can also give fully when darker frequencies are required. You understand that sometimes destruction is necessary for rebirth, that sometimes cutting away what doesn't serve creates space for what does. Your approach to conflict reveals this clearly. You offer a choice, though opponents rarely recognize it as the final chance it represents. We can operate from mutual respect, or we can handle this another way entirely. Either option works for you. You're comfortable in both peaceful and combative energies without losing your center. This versatility makes you impossible to predict and therefore impossible to defeat through conventional strategy. They prepared for someone who would react emotionally. They got someone who responds strategically. They expected chaos. They encountered calm. You've transformed completely through your deaths. The person you were before wouldn't recognize who you've become. Old patterns that kept you small have dissolved. Beliefs about limitation that you absorbed from others have been released. Relationships that were draining your energy have been cut. You walk differently now. You speak differently. You carry yourself with authority that comes from surviving experiences others only read about. People notice the shift, even when they can't name what changed. Your energy radiates something that attracts what's meant for you, while repelling what would harm you. You've become a spiritual magnet with perfectly calibrated poles. Love finds you without desperate seeking. Prosperity flows without grinding sacrifice. Protection surrounds you without constant vigilance on your part. These aren't rewards for good behavior. These are natural consequences of energetic alignment. You did the work. You survived the trials. You integrated the lessons. Now the benefits manifest automatically. The deaths you survived weren't just physical near misses. Some of the most powerful ones were psychological and spiritual. The relationship that ended so brutally it felt like your soul was being extracted, that was a death. The career or situation that collapsed overnight, stripping away everything you thought defined you, that was a death. The betrayal from someone you trusted completely, someone who had full access to your vulnerable places, that was a death. Each one felt like ending. Each one seemed unsurvivable in the moment it occurred. Yet here you stand, not just surviving but thriving, not just recovered but transformed. Because every death was initiation into power levels they cannot comprehend. When you let go of who you thought you were, space opened for who you're meant to be. When you released attachment to outcomes you thought you needed, better outcomes became possible. When you stopped clinging to the familiar, extraordinary became accessible. You've developed a relationship with death itself that gives you perspective most people never achieve. While others run from endings, you've learned to run toward them. While others fear transformation, you've learned to embrace it as the doorway to elevation. While others cling to comfort, you've learned that growth lives on the other side of discomfort. This understanding makes you fearless in ways that terrify people operating from ego and manipulation. How do you threaten someone who has already walked through what everyone fears most and emerged stronger? How do you scare someone who has made peace with impermanence? How do you control someone who has released attachment to everything that can be taken away? You understand that your departure from this realm will happen according to divine timing, not according to the schemes of envious individuals who think they can play God with human lives. This knowledge lives in your bones now, not as intellectual concept but as lived experience, not as belief but as certainty. Your laughter broke them. When their elaborate scheme reached your awareness, when you understood the full scope of what they attempted, you didn't respond with fear or anger or dramatic confrontation. You laughed, pure genuine laughter at the absurdity of their conspiracy. You looked at all their moving parts and recognized the whole operation for what it was: desperate actions from empty people, operating from fear and lack, people so hollow inside they needed to destroy others to feel powerful. Your ability to find humor in their attempted destruction revealed spiritual maturity they couldn't process. Because how do you defeat someone who laughs at your best effort? How do you humiliate someone who transformed humiliation into power years ago? How do you break someone who has already been shattered and reconstructed themselves stronger than before? You've completed alchemy they don't have the reference point to understand. You've turned poison into medicine so many times it's become reflexive. Whatever they throw at you becomes fuel for your next level of evolution. They expected tears, they got amusement. They anticipated devastation, they encountered elevation. The very thing they designed to destroy you became the catalyst for your most powerful transformation yet. Everyone who truly knows you has recognized your gift in your community, among the people who have watched your journey unfold over time. There's acknowledgement that you carry something rare, something that can't be manufactured through manipulation or purchased through transaction. They've seen you take situations that would have destroyed others and use them as acceleration. They've witnessed you convert trauma into triumph through some process they can't explain but can't deny. They've watched you find light in darkness when everyone else had surrendered to despair. You've become living proof that chosen ones don't just survive their trials, they use them as stepping stones to heights that seemed impossible before the trial began. Your survival of this conspiracy proves your status beyond debate, not to others. Their validation matters far less than you once believed it did, to yourself, which is the only validation that carries permanent weight. Your community has watched you rise from ashes more than once. They've taken notes, they've been inspired. They've started believing in possibilities they dismissed before witnessing your transformation with their own eyes. The person who orchestrated everything against you is watching their own life disintegrate. Now, relationships they valued are ending without explanation. Opportunities they depended on are evaporating without warning. Health issues are manifesting that medical intervention cannot resolve because the root cause is spiritual, not physical. They're learning in real time that universal law operates with perfect accuracy, that energy sent out returns multiplied, that attempting to destroy a chosen one activates consequences they never researched in their amateur spiritual explorations. The irony is thick. They thought studying you would give them advantage. Instead, it gave them false confidence that led to catastrophic miscalculation. Meanwhile, their accomplice lives with the weight of choice every single day. They can't explain to anyone what they're experiencing because explaining it requires admitting participation in something that would shatter their carefully maintained image, so they carry the burden alone. And it gets heavier with each sunrise. Your absence from their life is a presence that demands acknowledgement. Your silence speaks louder than any confrontation could have. They reach for phones to contact you and stop themselves. They compose messages and delete them. They dream scenarios where you forgive them and wait disappointed. Divine justice doesn't need human intervention to be perfect. You've become living proof of this truth. The game is over for their energy, and everyone with spiritual sight can see it clearly now. Universal law has been enforced by authorities they cannot bribe or influence or appeal to through clever argument. The outcome demonstrates clearly who operates from truth and who operates from deception, creating a testimony that will be referenced by others facing similar situations. Your victory sends message to every chosen one, dealing with attacks and conspiracies and coordinated efforts to destroy them. The message is simple but carries weight that could reshape destinies. Stay in your truth even when lies surround you completely. Trust your protection even when danger seems certain and closing in. Maintain your integrity even when corruption offers rewards that seem worth taking. Watch the universe handle what humans cannot handle with precision that exceeds imagination. This is the inheritance of those who have died and returned. This is the privilege of those who walked through fire and emerged purified. Let me bring you back to where we began. Someone is losing sleep right now because you survived what was never supposed to be survivable. They're consulting readers and advisors trying to understand how their attack failed so spectacularly. The realization that they challenged someone operating on a completely different spiritual level has shaken their confidence to its foundation. They discovered too late what your deaths taught you, that you're prepared for attacks they didn't even know were possible, that your protection systems activate before threats fully materialize, that your spiritual ranking operates on frequencies they cannot perceive, let alone affect. What they didn't know when they started their little game is that you've died before, and that's exactly what made you impossible to kill. Your veil lifted through those deaths, revealing truth they couldn't handle, power they couldn't match, protection they couldn't breach. Your power activated through those endings, creating beginnings they couldn't foresee. Possibilities they couldn't prevent, realities they couldn't stop from manifesting. You carry something now that nobody can take from you, certainty that you're supposed to be here, proof through lived experience that divine favor surrounds your existence, knowledge that your ancestors fight battles you cannot see while you focus on battles you can see, understanding that your purpose extends beyond anything your enemies can interrupt. Love, harmony, tranquility, prosperity, peace, protection, respect, vibrant health, expanding wealth. These aren't distant dreams anymore. They're establishing themselves as permanent fixtures in your life, not because you're special compared to others, because you're aligned with something greater than individual achievement, something that benefits everyone who comes in contact with your energy, something that cannot be destroyed no matter how sophisticated the conspiracy against it becomes. Walk forward from this moment in complete confidence. What you've survived has made you untouchable in ways their calculations never included. You are exactly who you were designed to be, standing exactly where you were positioned to stand, carrying exactly the power you were created to carry. Your enemies have defeated themselves through actions that seemed clever at the time. Their self-destruction continues without any participation required from you. Watch it unfold, not with malice, not with celebration, just with quiet knowing that universal justice maintains perfect records and delivers perfect consequences according to perfect timing. Your protection remains upgraded. Each attack strengthened it rather than weakened it. Each conspiracy revealed vulnerabilities that were then sealed. Each attempt at destruction triggered improvements you didn't consciously request. The universe has been fortifying your position with every assault they launched, thinking they were making progress. There's something else your deaths taught you that deserves recognition. You learned the difference between genuine spiritual connection and trauma bonding, between authentic love that elevates and addictive attachment that drains, between divine timing that feels like waiting and human impatience that creates chaos. These distinctions protect you now from repeating patterns that no longer serve your evolved consciousness. You can feel the difference in energy signatures almost instantly. When someone approaches carrying agenda, your system responds before your mind analyzes. When opportunity presents itself dressed in attractive clothing but carrying hidden cost, something inside you hesitates until clarity arrives. This discernment wasn't cheap. It cost you everything you thought you were before you became who you actually are. Your hands carry healing frequencies that flow directly from source, and this isn't metaphor or spiritual poetry. People have experienced shifts in your presence that defy explanation. Conditions that doctors labeled permanent suddenly improved. Emotional wounds, decades old, finally began closing. Physical symptoms that medication couldn't touch started releasing. This isn't something you manufacture through technique or effort. It's something that moves through you when alignment is active. Your ability to heal yourself demonstrates connection to regenerative forces most people never access. You've recovered from injuries that should have been permanent, from trauma that should have shattered you permanently, from setbacks that would damage others for life. You synchronize with source energy so completely that restoration becomes automatic. Now let me put you onto something real, Destiny Engine. I built this because I was done watching chosen ones get dragged through betrayal, isolation and attacks while their enemies strutted around unchecked. I want to help you accelerate the speed of your divine justice and step fully into your purpose, and the beauty of it, you don't even have to lift a finger. Destiny Engine takes their downfall and flips it into your rise. This isn't another meditation app. It's declassified consciousness technology, the same mind programming tools your enemies once used to install fear, competition and scarcity, re-engineered to restore your sovereignty and align you with the cooperative, upgraded operating framework. It generates personalized sequences mapped to your divine purpose. The hardest thing you'll do is put on headphones, press play and watch your enemies keep digging their own grave. The collective upgrade is underway. Start your Destiny Engine for $1 today and turn everything they did to break you into fuel for your rise. Link in the description. The confirmation of your gifts doesn't come from external validation anymore. It comes from undeniable results that speak for themselves. Your prayers get answered with precision that amazes even you. Sometimes within hours of asking, your protection holds strong against attacks that devastate others, leaving attackers confused about why their reliable methods suddenly produced nothing. Your enemies defeat themselves through their own actions, while you remain untouched, watching their self-destruction with quiet knowing rather than vengeful satisfaction. These results cannot be manufactured through positive thinking alone. They require actual alignment with forces that test everyone who claims to carry them. You passed those tests through your deaths, through your trials, through your continued choice to walk in truth when lies offered easier paths. You've healed even the person who participated in the conspiracy against you. They might not realize it yet, but your energy worked on them even as they worked against you, planting seeds of consciousness that will eventually bloom into full recognition of what they did and what they lost. This proves your nature remains oriented toward love, even when facing active betrayal. Your capacity to maintain healing energy toward those who harm you demonstrates mastery that few achieve in a single lifetime. This isn't weakness masquerading as spirituality. This isn't avoidance dressed in enlightenment language. This is actual power, the kind that remains uncontaminated by the darkness it encounters, the kind that transforms poison into medicine automatically, the kind that your enemies cannot corrupt no matter how sophisticated their approach becomes. Let's address something directly. There will be moments going forward when they try to reconnect, when desperation drives them to seek your empathy, when consequences become unbearable and they remember your capacity for compassion. They will craft messages designed to invoke guilt, They will construct narratives where they become the victim and you become the one who abandoned them. They will use every manipulation technique in their arsenal to regain access to your energy because they've discovered that without it, their lives feel empty in ways nothing else can fill. Maintain your boundaries with perfect firmness, showing compassion to unrepentant enemies who actively conspired for your destruction is not wisdom. It's self-sabotage disguised as spiritual maturity. Real chosen ones understand when mercy becomes enabling, when forgiveness requires first the cessation of ongoing attack, when healing someone else requires their genuine desire to be healed rather than their desire to regain position for another assault. Your occupation generates abundance because it flows from purpose rather than desperation. You create value that touches lives. You offer something the marketplace wants and needs. You solve problems and provide services that improve existence for others. This alignment between purpose and provision creates income that manipulation can never replicate. They watched money flow to you and couldn't understand the source because they only understand transactional exchange. They give to get, they perform to receive, they manipulate outcomes toward predetermined goals. Meanwhile, you operate from overflow, from alignment, from the natural consequence of doing what you're meant to do for people who are meant to receive it. This fundamental difference in orientation explains why their schemes always require so much effort, while your success feels almost effortless. People who were once close to you have witnessed things they cannot explain. They've seen you take impossible situations and navigate them with grace. They've watched predictions you made materialize months later, exactly as described. They've observed your instincts prove accurate, time after time when conventional logic suggested otherwise. This track record exists now. It cannot be dismissed as coincidence. It cannot be attributed to lucky guessing. Something operates through you that defies ordinary explanation, and the more your enemies exposed themselves through their conspiracy, the more this something revealed itself as your permanent protection. They provided the pressure that activated capabilities you didn't know you carried. In their attempt to destroy you, they completed your emergence into full power. The scope of their planning revealed premeditation that should frighten anyone who considers it carefully. This wasn't impulse born from emotional moment. This wasn't reaction to circumstance beyond their control. This was strategic operation designed over time with multiple participants and coordinated execution. The fact that such deliberate darkness failed completely against you carries meaning that extends beyond personal victory. It demonstrates principle, that chosen ones carry protection proportional to their purpose, that attacks against genuine light activate defenses beyond human engineering, that universal law maintains balance regardless of how cleverly darkness constructs its schemes. You've become living proof of truths that cynics dismiss and skeptics deny. Your survival converts philosophy into testimony. Your future burns with light that touches everything it reaches. Every breath you take is evidence that you're meant to be here right now. Every step you make is guided by wisdom that sees paths hidden from ordinary sight. Every choice you embrace is supported by forces that ensure your ultimate victory in all things. The deaths that were meant to end you became the births that created who you now are. The destructions that were meant to erase you became the constructions that established your foundation. The endings that were meant to finish you became the beginnings that launched you into purpose that cannot be interrupted. Chosen ones don't die, they transform, they evolve, they become more powerful than limited imaginations can conceive, and that transformation is already complete in you. Everything from this point forward is simply the manifestation of what's already been decided in realms they cannot access. Remember where we started. Someone is pacing floors and losing sleep because you are still here, still breathing, still thriving, still carrying light they tried to extinguish. Their conspiracy had moving parts they were proud of, accomplices they trusted, plans they refined over time, and every single element has reversed against them. The very precision they brought to your destruction has become the precision with which their consequences arrive. They documented their own condemnation. They created evidence through their own arrogance. They built cases against themselves while believing they were building cases against you. What they didn't know is that targeting someone who has already walked through death multiple times is the single worst strategic decision they could have made. You emerged from those experiences with sight that pierces every illusion, with protection that deflects every attack, with power that grows stronger under pressure they intended to use for destruction. They thought they were hunting. They were being hunted by consequences they didn't believe existed, and now those consequences have arrived. For them, the nightmare continues. For you, the golden chapter begins. Stand in your authority, chosen one. Everything that tried to kill you has failed. Everything that tried to break you has strengthened you instead. Everything that tried to stop your purpose has accelerated it beyond what natural progression would have allowed. You are untouchable now, not through arrogance, through alignment, not through ego, through experience, not through belief alone, through proof written across your entire existence. The veil lifted when you died. Those deaths and what you see now cannot be unseen. What you know now cannot be unknown. What you carry now cannot be taken. Walk forward. Your time has fully arrived. The universe conspires in your favor now, not because you demanded it through positive thinking exercises, because you earned it through transformation that cost everything you thought you were. Your veil is permanently lifted. Your sight is permanently enhanced. Your protection is permanently activated. And nothing they planned, nothing they executed, nothing they believed would destroy you has succeeded. You stand here breathing, thriving, ascending, while they crumble. This is the way it works for chosen ones. This is the reward for surviving what would have ended lesser souls. This is your inheritance. Claim it fully.